Hi, this is Steve Lawrence with Christmas wishes for you.
This is Dick Clark.
This is Duke of the Four Tops.
Hi, this is Tito Jackson of the Jackson 5. We wish everyone a Happy New Year and a Merry Christmas.
Hi, everyone. This is Leanne Rhymes, and you're listening to The Sounds of Christmas
podcast.
Hi, I'm Ken Kessler, and welcome to the Sounds of Christmas podcast. If you're new to this podcast, I want to start by saying thanks for joining us. If you're not new, welcome back. Either way, I'm glad you're here. Now, to avoid any confusion, I want to start off by saying there won't be any music played here. This is a place for conversation. I'll talk about Christmas music and some related topics, sometimes by myself and sometimes with guests. If you're looking for music, just go to soundsofchristmas.com and click on the tree or the player on the front page or on the Listen Now page. We play the best variety of Christmas music all year long. Well, except in October, when we play the best variety of Halloween music. As we reach the last day of the year, I think many of us find we can identify with Billy Crystal's comments about Auld Lang Syne near the end of the movie When Harry Met Sally.
What does this song mean? My whole life, I don't know what this song means. I mean, should old acquaintance be forgot? Does that mean that we should forget old acquaintances? It doesn't mean that if we happen to forget them, we should remember them, which is not possible because we already forgot them.
I've thought that, or something similar at least, more than once since that movie first came out. So let's take a dive into Auld Lang Syne. Auld Lang Syne comes from a Scottish poem by Robert Burns written in 1788. The poem's title has been translated as Old Long Since, or less literally, Long, Long Ago, Days Gone By, Times Long Past, or Old Times. For Auld Lang Syne, as it appears in the first line of the chorus, it could be loosely translated as For the Sake of Old Times. While Burns is given credit for Auld Lang Syne, the phrase actually appears in works predating his poem by at least 100 years. As far as I can tell, Burns never tried to take credit for it. He sent a copy of the original song to the Scots Musical Museum in 1788 with the remark, quote, "The following song, an old song of the olden times, and which has never been in print, nor even in manuscript, until I took it down from an old man," end quote. I have no idea if that's really what he said, but that's a loose translation for what he said. First recording of the song was made on a wax cylinder in 1898 by the Englishmen Charles Samuel Myers and Alfred Court Haddon, who sang it in a demonstration of the new technology while on an expedition to record Aboriginal Australian music. The original 1898 recording can be heard online via the British Library Sound Archive website. Unfortunately, as of the recording of this podcast, that site is not currently available. Otherwise, I would post a link to it down in the show notes. So, how did this centuries-old song become a modern tradition? Well, Charles Dickens referenced Auld Lang Syne in David Copperfield. It was sung by British and German soldiers during the Christmas truce of 1914 as they swapped food and gifts during the early stages of World War I. But on New Year's Eve, 1929, Guy Lombardo signed off CBS just before midnight and then signed on to NBC just after. To bridge the gap, he used the old song that he had learned back home, Auld Lang Syne. It became part of their routine year after year, and as radio begot television, Guy Lombardo and Auld Lang Syne became a part of the New Year's Eve celebration in Times Square, a tradition Guy continued for almost 50 years. Now, those who listen to a podcast like this probably already know that Auld Lang Syne was used at the end of It's a Wonderful Life from 1946, and it was already obviously very popular by then. First commercial recording, though, according to Secondhand Songs, was by Emil Berliner in 1890. Since then, nearly 1,000 versions have been recorded, including covers by Bing Crosby, Joe Stafford, Mitch Miller, The Platters, The Beach Boys, Freddie and the Dreamers, Big Country, Slade, The Stylistics, Lou Rawls, Cliff Richard, Billy Joel, Reliant K, Chris Isaak, Bare Naked Ladies, James Taylor, Billy Idol, The Smithereens, Juice Newton, Straight No Chaser, Mariah Carey, Susan Boyle, Donnie Iris, Colby Calais, Rod Stewart, Leanne Rimes, Patti Smith, Alabama, Ingrid Michaelson, Old 97s, Home Free, Idina Menzel, Leslie Odom Jr., Pentatonics, Steve Perry, Johnny Mathis, and Jennifer Hudson. In 1999, the instrumental version recorded by Kenny G made it to number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100 when it was released as a single, and at that time it was the oldest written song to make the Hot 100 charts. And as far as I know, that's a record that remains unbroken today. This song does invite a period to pause and reflect, and I thought in so doing, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention some of the artists we lost this past year, at least the ones with connections to Christmas music. Singer Melanie, probably best known for her huge 1970s hit Brand New Key, passed away last January. In the 1990s, she released a Christmas album, Antlers, A Christmas for True Believers, which was reissued a few years later as Yes, Santa, There Is a Melanie. Producer Frank Farian passed away also last January. He was responsible for putting together the groups No Mercy, Milli Vanilli, and Boney M. Boney M, of course, released their Christmas album in 1981, which featured the song Mary's Boy Child, Oh My Lord, and you still hear that being played today. Country singer-songwriter Toby Keith died in early February. Toby released 21 studio albums, 8 compilation albums, 70 singles, and 65 of those charted on the Billboard Country Chart. 54 reached the top 40, 40 made it to the top 10, and 20 went to number 1. He sold 30 million albums in the U.S., which made him the 5th best-selling country artist. He also released 2 Christmas albums, Christmas to Christmas and A Classic Christmas. And Christmas to Christmas was just re-released earlier this year with some extra tracks, including his version of Old Toy Trains. Legendary singer and actor Steve Lawrence passed away the first week of March. He and his wife Edie Gourmet recorded their Christmas album, That Holiday Feeling, in 1964. Former Firehouse singer-songwriter C.J. Snare passed away near the beginning of April. Firehouse recorded a cover of Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree for the Monster Ballads Christmas compilation in 2007. And then a few years later on his own, C.J. released an EP called A Christmas Gift that included God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen and O Come Emmanuel. Grammy-winning singer and former American Idol contestant Mandisa died in April. Her second album after leaving American Idol was It's Christmas, which followed an EP called Christmas Joy that was released the previous December. She also sang Christmas Day with Michael W. Smith on his album It's a Wonderful Christmas. Oak Ridge Boys tenor Joe Bonsall passed away in early July. He performed on all 8 of the Oak Ridge Boys Christmas albums. In July, the last living original members of the Four Tops, Abdul Duke Fakir, passed away. He appeared on all of the Four Tops albums from 1965 to their last studio album in 1995, which was Christmas Here With You. Singer Maurice Williams, known as the lead singer for Maurice Williams and the Zodiacs, passed away in August. While the band had a number 1 hit with Stay back in 1960, it was over 40 years later that they finally recorded a Christmas album simply entitled Christmas with Maurice Williams and the Zodiacs, though that album has been re-released many times with lots of name changes. Singer and founding member of the rock band Great White, Jack Russell, died in early August. Great White didn't release any Christmas music that I know of, but Jack recorded a version of Blue Christmas for the compilation A Very Metal Christmas. Country singer and musician Tommy Cash passed away in September. He was Johnny Cash's little brother. Tommy had several hits on his own in the 70s and also appeared on Johnny's Christmas album singing That Christmassy Feeling with his brother. Singer, musician, and one of the founding members of the Jackson 5, Tito Jackson, died in mid-September. Mostly known as a member of the Jackson 5, Tito was also nominated for a Grammy 3 times on his own. With his brother, he also performed on the very popular Jackson 5 Christmas album. At the end of September, singer and actor Ken Page passed away. While he doesn't have any connection to Christmas music exactly, he will always be remembered for voicing Oogie Boogie in The Nightmare Before Christmas, and of course singing Oogie Boogie's song. Soul and gospel singer Sissy Houston passed away the first week in October. While now she may possibly be best known as Whitney Houston's mother, she had been part of the group Sweet Inspirations, and she also had a string of solo hits in the 1970s. She was an in-demand backing vocalist as well, working with dozens of artists, including Wilson Pickett, Jimi Hendrix, David Bowie, Aretha Franklin, Burt Bacharach, Paul Simon, Linda Ronstadt, and the Jay Giles Band, just to name a few. And she also sang on several tracks on Luther Vandross's album, This Is Christmas. One Direction's Liam Payne died in mid-October. While One Direction had gone on an indefinite hiatus 7 or 8 years ago, there have been lots of rumors that there might be a reunion and that the reunion might include Christmas music. We'll never know now, of course. On his own, Liam had recorded a version of Let It Snow, along with the original songs All I Want for Christmas and Naughty List. Singer Jack Jones passed away in October. He won 2 Grammy Awards, received 5 other nominations, but will probably be best remembered for singing the opening theme song for The Love Boat. In his 40-plus year career, he also released 3 Christmas albums. Grateful Dead bassist Phil Lesh died about a week before Halloween. He was their bassist for their entire 3-decade career. While the Dead didn't release any Christmas albums, they did record Run Rudolph Run in concert, which appeared on bootlegs for years, then turned up on their website, and then was released on a compilation about 10 years ago. In early November, Quincy Jones passed away. He was a record producer, composer, arranger, conductor, trumpeter, and band leader. Over the course of his 7-decade career, he received 28 Grammy Awards, a Primetime Emmy Award, and a Tony Award, as well as nominations for 7 Academy Awards and 4 Golden Globes. While he's attached to so many amazing artists, songs, and albums, his only Christmas outing, at least the only one I'm aware of, was the track Green Sleeves and All That Jazz on the 1969 soundtrack to The Italian Job. Drummer Colin Peterson died in mid-November. He played drums for the Bee Gees in the mid to late 60s and appeared on 3 Christmas tracks that were recorded during the sessions for the album Horizontal. I don't think those songs saw the light of day until the album was reissued in 2006. Those songs are All My Christmases Came at Once, Thank You for Christmas, and a medley of Silent Night and Hark the Herald Angels Sing. Bob Breyer, former drummer for My Chemical Romance, died around Thanksgiving. My Chemical Romance recorded a version of Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You for an LA radio station in 2004. And as far as I can tell, Bob was their drummer at that time. Okay, I know that's probably not a complete list of artists with connections to Christmas music that we lost in the past year, and my sincerest apologies to anyone connected to or just a fan of someone I left off the list. That's always the danger of making lists like this, and I'm sorry if I left off someone that you care about. Time to stop reflecting and to start looking ahead. The Sounds of Christmas station is wrapping up its 18th season, and the Sounds of Christmas podcast is nearing the end of its 4th year, approaching 250 episodes. So what's in store for the Sounds of Christmas for the year to come? For this podcast, I'll continue posting episodes year-round. The frequency of new episodes will ease up a little now, going back to a similar schedule as last year at this time. I'll try to get one new one posted every Monday, but there may be a week or two where that just doesn't happen. I do have a wish list of people I'd like to have on as guests, including a lot of artists who had advertised on the Sounds of Christmas station over the years, but haven't necessarily released any new Christmas music lately. I'd like to check in with them, see what they're up to, talk about Christmas music that they did release, and, knowing me, probably ask them about making some new Christmas music too. There are also a few artists I wasn't able to have on this season, mostly due to scheduling conflicts, and I'm hoping that they will still come on sometime in the next month or so. I also have a couple surprises in store, at least I hope I do. With some people, I've been working on scheduling for the next month or two, but I don't have anything set yet, so I can't reveal anything at this point. I'm not trying to tease you. I just want you to know that I am working on some things that I think you'll like. The Sounds of Christmas station will continue on playing the best variety of Christmas music, commercial-free, through the end of September. Then, once again, I'll switch things over for October, and we'll be playing the best variety of Halloween music. And then, on November 1st, 2025, a brand new season of The Sounds of Christmas will begin. Between now and October, I'll do what I can to keep things fresh, including adding a bunch of songs that I didn't get around to playing this past season. Some I just didn't find in time. Others were released that last week leading up to Christmas, and I couldn't get to them fast enough. And others I just wasn't able to fit in. I'm recording this episode on New Year's Eve, and I noticed that we still have people listening all over the United States and at least 40 other countries. And while that's nice to see, I know full well it probably won't stay like that. And really, that's okay. I do get that for most people, Christmas music starts to end shortly after Christmas Day. As for this podcast, earlier this month, I crossed the 250,000 download mark. And I don't mention that to brag. It's more out of surprise and gratitude, which is the same feeling I have seeing all those people who are listening to the station tonight. I didn't start doing any of this for the numbers, and I really hope it doesn't sound like that's the case. In fact, I fully expect the numbers on both the station and this podcast to drop significantly over the next week, with neither really going up much until next fall. And that's also okay. My only hope is that at some point during the next year, when you feel like you could use a little Christmas spirit, that you remember that we're still here and we're still on, and you can listen anytime you want. And if you love Christmas music enough that you want to hear me and my guests talk about it, I hope you remember this podcast is still chugging along. And if you followed or subscribed on whatever podcast service you use, all our new episodes will be there waiting for you when you feel like checking back in. Thanks so much for listening, helping me share some Christmas spirit, and for continuing to support the Sounds of Christmas station and podcast. I already told you how to listen to the station, and you're listening to the podcast now, so my work here is just about done. All of our episodes are available on the Sounds of Christmas website. Just click the podcast tab. And we also have a Linktree page that lists most, if not all, of the sites that stream the Sounds of Christmas podcast. And I'll put a link to that down in the show notes. So you can click that, scroll down, and find your favorite, then click on over and subscribe so you don't miss another episode. If you have comments or suggestions on this episode, previous episodes, or the Sounds of Christmas station, feel free to reach out to me on social media or through the website. And if you're listening to this episode on your phone, you can also click the Send Us a Text Message link and connect that way. Thanks again. And may you always believe in Santa Claus.